Welcome to the Creative Condition podcast with me, Ben Talon, illustrator and creativity coach, founder of the Creative Condition, artist and writer. I bring 20 years of creative industry experience and a lifelong love of creativity, a fundamental pillar of human happiness, to you through ongoing personal exploration and the shared experiences of others. You'll get a nourishing mix of creative industry professionals and people far and wide using creativity in ways that can take our learning to the next level so we can maximise our unique blend. The show's been supported from day one by Illustration-X, a tremendous illustration agency representing a shining global roster of illustrators and animators over at illustrationx.com. The music for the show is by Dirty Freud, who you can listen to now on all good streaming services. And for everything else, for my coaching, resources and inspiration, head to thecreativecondition.com. Today I'm going to talk you through a brand new coaching offering specifically targeted at helping illustrators. Well, I've been one for 18 years. I've been coaching for 1.5. I've been studying, interviewing and researching creativity with a lot of illustrators involved in that process for over 10 years now. So I've got something new for you. I'm going to tell you all about it. I'm going to tell you how you can access it, what it costs and what it entails. This is the Creative Condition. How are you doing, guys? Welcome to the show. My name is Ben Talon. This is the Creative Condition podcast. As I record this, I'm about to head north. I got to take care of some family business this week and it seemed like an opportunity to have a little pause on the interviews and the diary episodes and just tell you a little more about a brand new coaching offering, which is specifically for illustrators. Before I do that, I would be remiss not to thank the founding sponsor of the show, illustrationx.com, my representative for over a decade now, much longer actually. I've lost track of how long, but I've been with those guys for a long, long time now. They represent a lot of amazing illustrators and animators and everything else, live artists, all kinds of specialists from all across the globe, and they do a lot of great work for the creative industry, including the Society of Artists Agents and the Association of Illustrators as their collaborators. So check them out at illustrationx.com right now. I also want to just take the time to encourage you to take a look at ui.org.ua, which is where you'll find the Ukrainian Institute. These guys are doing some amazing work in making sure that the very brave and determined Ukrainian creative community are continuing to make and seek optimism in these very testing times of war. And you can help them by sharing some of that work, or even, if you're in a position to do so, commissioning them. Take a look now, ui.org.ua. So, like I said, I've got a little journey up north this week to take care of some family business. It's been hectic on the work front, nice mixed bag of coaching. I did a pit stop in London the week before last, mixing with illustration work going on. I'm not at liberty to talk about which projects I'm working on, but there's a couple of nice little ones underway at the moment, though it has been a very tempestuous, turbulent market. Which brings me to today's discussion point. I have designed a specific coaching offering for illustrators. It's a one-stop deal, just like the pit stop. That's where I'm building from. There will soon be a group offer, something I'm looking into. I'm actively developing, more than looking into. But this one, so the feedback I was getting is that there were a number of people hovering over the pit stop session. And I've had a conversation with a number of people. Many have booked on, many have done it. It's been incredibly fulfilling this year. The pit stop is a one-stop, very intensive, very personal deep dive into the makeup of your creativity, your current situation. What's your job? How do you feel about it? Where are you heading? Where have you come from? What is your story? What is your lived experience? And then we work through the entire anatomy of creativity framework. And we do this to establish where you are, any blind spots, any frustrations, opportunities out there for you to grow. And then I come back, we do the conversation, it takes between 3 and 4 hours, and then I come back and I write up dedicated review notes, actionable tips and exercises to help get you flowing the right direction with forward motion with your general creativity. So that can entail anything. I've had designers, I've had musicians, I've had photographers. I've had a person from a climate background. I'm about to do one with a guy who's been working in Hollywood. I love it. I love the range that the pit stop brings. But what I was hearing was that it was just a little bit out of reach financially for some people, particularly freelancers. And it occurred to me, well, what have I been for the last 18 years? Well, I've been an illustrator. I've been many things, as you know that. but the bills have largely been paid thanks to my career as a freelance illustrator. That is what I know. I know, again, I know a lot of things. I spent a lot of time obsessively studying creativity, interviewing, as you guys will know, any long-term listeners to the show, over 300 subjects who are using their creativity in an interesting and educational way, ways that can teach us so much. That's why I've had doctors on the show. That's why I've had firefighters. That's why I had Ben Ryan, Olympic gold medal winning Fiji Rugby Sevens coach. That's why I had Sean Ryder from the Happy Mondays on the show. And as much as I like to go broad, I have been an illustrator for 18 years, so I thought, what am I doing? I'm sitting on all this knowledge and all the kind of the chatter that I see on social media that I also have felt myself is that our market is in turmoil, that things are upside down, things are reshifting, reshaping. And that's painful for a lot of people. I've suffered quite a bit of anxiety this year because of financial pressure. I find it very challenging to balance all the things I'm trying to balance. I'm a parent of 2 young twins, so I'm tired. I'm working on less computing power than I used to be able to do. Illustration is hot and cold. I've had some nice projects this year. I've had a big one that has helped on that panic front, but just the one big one. Everything else has kind of been stop-start, little bits. It's been very quiet in terms of the global market and the workflow for me this year. And that brings a great deal of self-doubt. But what I'm doing in the background is developing some illustration, some personal work that I feel really good about. I'm really kind of removing the restrictions now and just tapping back into that raw, stripped back energy that really characterises what I do, but at times I've kind of wandered away from. And I want to get back there. I want to really hone my offering again. And this got me thinking, wouldn't it be cool if I could help other illustrators? Because I love our industry. I love illustrators. I've loved being one. I've had so many joys. So many doors have opened over this last 18 years into other areas. But ultimately, there will always be a place for my artwork, both commercial and personal, or emotional and intellectual, if you want to bracket it the way I do on the Anatomy of Creativity map. So it got me thinking, how can I do that? Well, what we're all going to have to do in these times moving forward is to make our work as human as possible. Now, that's not saying you have to use any one media. I use organic media. I scan and compose it digitally using Photoshop. That's just my choice. You could be Mr. or Mrs. Digital, But what is really apparent and unignorable in these times is the need to position yourself. It's got to have soul. It's got to have a voice. It's got to have a point of view. It's something I've been working on through the pit stop with clients. But here in terms of illustration, I don't think you can get by, or soon it's going to be very hard to get by, in as much as just producing work and being a kind of hand for hire. There will be work for that. Of course there will. Not everyone is just going to suddenly be on AI and all that stuff. But it's not just AI. There's a climate of fear in the world at the moment which leans into this. I really think there's a perfect storm of reasons why the market is upside down at the moment. I've particularly noticed that there's fear around my style because there's organic media. Silly as that sounds, it makes people, potential commissioners, feel like there's a little loss of control because it isn't kind of straight digital and can't be shaped in a 100% understandable way. There's a great deal of the soul and character in my work is the incidental, the kind of considered mistake that goes on. And it's completely under my command. 18 years makes you a master of that craft, considerably more than my 10,000 hours. It really is, spontaneous is something we can train like a muscle. This is another thing I find myself talking about with my coaching clients, talking about practicing, allowing yourself to get things wrong, coming back, maybe separating your brain a little bit, taking it in turns in sessions is something I've been through with one client about going, okay, in this session, you're the artist. Come in, make a mess, let loose, experiment, walk away, shut the door. When you next come back, you're the art director. Come back and evaluate with a fresh eye. Walk away, have some more time away from it. Come back, evaluate again, make some more mess. Switch between thought modes, to open things up. But really, when it comes down to it, so, it's about positioning and how are we going to position ourselves. Now, that's what this coaching session is about, because I really believe that we've got to do that. And I see so many great portfolios or great styles that are out there that are let down by the brand, the overall brand. You know, the voice isn't consistent. There's a very banal piece of copy that is chucked onto an about page, a very obviously cobbled together portfolio that doesn't allow the work to sing. You know, how are you composing your portfolio? Are you allowing some images to lead over others, be more dynamic, because maybe that works for you and your character? Or does uniform work for you? Are you very straight graphic? You know, these are things to consider in terms of your lived experience. So what the session looks like takes 2 hours. So that's the idea, right? That's why you've probably seen I'm running these pilot sessions. At the time of recording, which is just over a week before this goes out, like I said, I've got to do some travelling. There are 2 sessions at the pilot price left. Pilot price, 450 quid. It's eventually going to be 600 quid. What the pilot price acknowledges is, it might run over 2 hours. I'm aiming for 2 hours in terms of the time we would spend together working through your stuff. Might be 2.5, at which point I got to go, okay, maybe I need to charge just a touch more of this, and it takes this long. Or here's what I can cut back from this session without losing quality to make it 2 hours and keep the cost the same. It also might just allow me the freedom to get a few things that are ass about face in terms of the order of the structure. But ultimately you're going to get all of me. You're going to get all of my coaching ability, my knowledge, my empathy, my sensitivity, which is what this stuff is built upon. I love the human condition. I love helping people make sense of the things in their broader life and then bring that into their professional environment, because how can you separate the two? So you're going to get the best of me. It's just that I'm working out the session, so I'm offering these 4 pilots that will allow me to do that. 2 of them have gone quite quickly, to my absolute delight. So there are 2 left. At least when I record this, I'll update on LinkedIn if that changes in the meantime. But get in touch, because for that you get 2 hours in person, roughly 1 hour, one-to-one deep dive into who you are, what your story is, your current situation, your hopes, fears and ambitions, with according guidance. So we'll get personal. We'll talk about, any frustrations at home, in work. Is that work-life balance there? What do you want from your career? Where are you going at the moment? Are you designing your career? Why not? What is your relationship with money? What are your learned behaviours? We'll get into all that stuff. It's going to be an intense hour. And then we'll jump into your portfolio. And we'll know quite quickly if it makes sense with what we just talked about. Does it reflect you? Like I said, composition is one thing. What is the work order? Is the soul of the work in keep with what you're interested in, your curiosity, who you are, what you do, where you want to go, where you've been? Because if it's not, there's many ways we can inform that. A portfolio is so much more dynamic than just showing off work. It must also be a showcase of intent, of where you want to go to attract the work that you want to be working on long term. Otherwise, we risk stagnation, frustration, and repeating the same old tricks. And in the last half an hour, we'll get into personal brand overview. So looking at not just the portfolio, what's the logo? What's the tone of voice in the copy? How are you describing your projects? And how can we align that more with who you are? Are the colour choices saying something? And if not, let's bring some method to that madness. Brand, of course, extends beyond a website. How are you representing yourself on social media? Have you got a plan for that? What is the voice? Have you tapped into who you are? If not, we might talk about doing some further work. I do long-term coaching packages with clients that are still, me being new, relatively, achievable in terms of the cost. But what you will get is an absolute elevation, because I'm very passionate about this stuff. I love to crack people's codes and really understand, what makes them tick. That's what any good coach should be looking for. It's not about a template. It's about deep listening, really spending time with the person, and then having the courage to advise them accordingly. Sometimes it can be advice that a person might not want to hear. It's not, it's very rarely is it plain sailing. I ask my clients to go away and come back with certain things, homework almost, if you will. But we build a real bond, a real relationship, and I love that. I love taking on a 6-month challenge to get someone where they would like to get to. I find that very thrilling, very exciting. So that's what this is about. It's very much directed at illustrators in this market, in positioning themselves in a way that they offer something that nobody else can, because we all have that within us. I saw a great post by Sir John Hegarty, who's one of the greatest minds that's ever been in not just advertising, but in the entire creative industry. I was fortunate enough to interview Sir John on episode 50 of this show, so please go and have a listen if you haven't to that one. It's an education. That was a joy to spend an hour with a man who took so much pleasure from creativity and such a great understanding of its origins and, using it. And Sir John's post was about, can we ban the word original, because it creates so many barriers and boundaries and lofty, unrealistic expectations by clients about getting something. I want something original, and his point was nothing is original. That's what creativity is. It's an amalgamation of your point of view, your lived experience, your tint on an existing idea or an observation or something in the world. Now, we live in a world with an absolute ubiquity of access to everything, so it's incredibly hard, maybe even impossible, to create something truly original these days. It's always going to be an echo from, it might be something 500 years ago, it might be something last week. We can't possibly know that, where we're influenced and how that unconscious absorbs everything that we encounter and experience in the world. But I agree with that. It's about where, what is the shade of grey between the way you might approach a certain topic, or political issue as the next person, and having the confidence to come at that with the voice that you have in this life, that you have nurtured since childhood through all of the things you've seen and done, from the relationships you have with other people and the way that you conduct yourself in the world. If you can go there with confidence and do that, and be yourself, whether that's in an employment environment, in an agency, or as a freelancer, or just as a human being, you're going to carve out your place in the world. You're going to attract the right people to help you nourish that and to grow. And you're also going to attract the opportunities that are aligned with what brings you joy and fulfillment. So that's what this session is about, really. It's about getting you moving forward in a way that you feel very excited about, very curious about the world. So if that sounds good, I'd love to hear from you. Get in touch, ben@bentalon.com, or you can hit me up through the messages on LinkedIn. They're the two likelier ways I'm going to respond. I would recommend email. I'm much quicker there. I lose track of social media messages, and I'm trying to just protect my mind a little more these days. Like I said, I've been experiencing something of a surge of anxiety this year and in recent times as a new parent. So I'm just trying to protect myself a little bit and just lower the sheer amount of information and stuff I've got to deal with. You might have noticed I've been a bit less frequent on Instagram and all that stuff. I've really just focusing on LinkedIn these days and emails and getting back to direct comms and newsletters and phone calls and all that stuff. But if that sounds good, get in touch. I'd love to hear from you. I'm excited about doing my first couple that I've got booked in. We've got some they're always individual problems, very individual circumstances, and I love that puzzle. I love that challenge of bringing, yes, a framework and a line of inquiry, but then just being prepared to throw it out the window. And if this is a session that just requires 2 hours of coaching, then we'll do that. If it's something where we need to spend a lot more time on the brand and the portfolio and you're very confident in your voice, that's cool too. We can flip it about. We can be flexible within what I've designed. But I would love to do it. If you like the sound of it, get in touch. Fill out the form at thecreativecondition.com/coach, or you can drop me an email. I've not put it up on the website yet because it's still at the pilot level. I'm going to be doing that soon. But I would love to work with you. I have a deep love of the illustration market. I see that it's in trouble at the moment. I want to help more people tune into finding that real natural artist voice. I feel like that's something I've been blessed with in my career. From the very start, I was very bold in terms of finding a style that reflected who I am, what I believe in, what my values are, the way I interpret the world, and then taking that forward and using it, with humour and with vulnerability and bringing those qualities to it that really make it something human. So I'd love to help you with it. Get in touch if it sounds good. A big thank you to the founding sponsor of the show, illustrationx.com. Please do consider checking out and supporting the Ukrainian Institute at ui.org.ua during this horrific time of war. Support their creative community there now. Please tell a friend about the session. Tell a friend about the show. Trying to build the creative condition all the time. Like I said, it's a challenge. I'm working as an illustrator, finding the time for this. Just been talking to an agency about growing this podcast. It's about time I did that because I love all of you guys, but I need to be reaching more people than I have because I haven't ever given myself the freedom, the permission or the time to go out there and make this thing more accessible on a global level. So it's exciting times. It's stressful. Get in touch if I can help. Thank you for listening, guys. Have an awesome week. We'll talk soon.